Spoiled for choice. So I'm just going to do a random fun kind of rambly video about Doctor Who, and one specific aspect of Doctor Who that a lot of people seem to take more issue with than I do, and it's the sonic screwdriver. It was funny, when I did my video a few months back about 5 things that Doctor Who needed to stop doing, the #1 addition that people had, either they wanted to add it as a number 6 or they wanted to trade out one of the ones I had for it, is to ditch or use much less often the sonic screwdriver. And I think some people even flat out asked me, why isn't the sonic screwdriver on here? It's way overused, except I've never really felt that way about it. Now, I get why people do. People call it a magic wand. It's used to fix everything. It's a deus ex machina. Just watching him go, I get why people are sick of the sonic screwdriver. So the main thing that people seem to criticize about the sonic screwdriver is that it is overused and used to fix everything. Except it's not really. It kind of is and it kind of isn't. So here's part of the thing, and this was the mandate that Russell T Davies had going in, and I do feel that even in his absence, the show has mostly held true to that, which is that the sonic screwdriver cannot be the thing that solves the final problem of whatever the Doctor is doing. But you don't want the Doctor to be stopped by a door. You want him to have something that will allow him to get through what would be a very standard obstacle so that he doesn't have to spend 5 minutes rigging up a door. Because what is the alternative? If the Doctor got rid of the sonic screwdriver, which he did for a couple of stretches of time back in the classic era, and obviously, and there was even a time before it was introduced, was it massively different? Well, no. So, take the 5th Doctor, who he didn't have the sonic screwdriver, but he was constantly doing technobabble solutions to things. He was just doing it at a control panel or with a MacGyvered thing that he'd thrown together, as opposed to the thing he always has in his pockets. So effectively, the same thing was happening. He just had to throw it together on the fly instead of having the device in his pockets, but it's still a technobabble solution to whatever the immediate obstacle is. So for me, at least, there isn't a huge difference. And so by removing the sonic screwdriver, all you do is make the technobabble solutions, which we're going to have, those aren't going to go away. It just makes them more clunky because he doesn't have an easy go-to to grab and use. But here's the big thing about me, and this is admittedly to a certain degree a headcanon thing, but I'm going to explain my headspace and where I'm coming at from this. A big part of why I'm totally fine with the sonic screwdriver is because, again, it gets compared to a magic wand. That comparison seemed most apt during the Smith era because it seemed to just well, first of all, he waved it around a bit more like a wand, and it seemed to have the most across the board line of functions and the only difference in terms of his using it did just seem to be waving it and he's thinking differently about it. So that was its most wand-like state, but it's not really, because here's the thing about a magic wand. A magic wand, and I'm not just talking about semantics here, right? This gets thematic, stick with me, is a magic wand is a device that can do anything that somebody acquires, and it then allows them to do whatever the thing can do. The Doctor made his sonic screwdriver, and that to me is a key, vital, and it's the linchpin to why I'm okay with it. Because ultimately, at the end of the day, the reason I'm okay with the sonic screwdriver is because I see it as an extension of the Doctor's own ingenuity. And the reason it can do so much and do all these things is because the Doctor knew enough to make something that can do all of these things. Now, I mentioned headcanon. There is a line from way back in Series 1, I believe it was in the Doctor Dances specifically, it was definitely in that 2-parter, where Captain Jack Harkness basically berates him for having the sonic screwdriver and goes, who looks at a screwdriver and go, oh, this could be more sonic? And the Doctor snaps back at him, what, you've never been bored? You've never had a lot of shelves to put up? There's something about that line that has always stuck with me, because immediately the image that came to my mind was the Doctor, between adventures, sitting in the TARDIS, feet up on the console, just tinkering with the sonic screwdriver, just adding new functions to it. Not because he's some sort of super tactical genius, because he knows one day he'll need this function, but just because He's got 5 minutes to kill. Oh, I'll add another function onto this. And again, in that same story, though this part I think was in the empty child half of it, he hands the screwdriver over to another character and says, setting number 257 or whatever it is. And she goes, what? It reattaches barbed wire. That's an incredibly specific setting to have, but I totally picture him in the TARDIS just tinkering with it and going, what hasn't it done? Oh, okay, we'll do one to reattach barbed wire. And maybe one to ripen bananas. And I imagine there's a bajillion functions on this thing that have never been used because they have no practical function whatsoever. And also, the fact that it doesn't work on wood, to me, plays into this as well, because the Doctor is sentimental. And it gets established in the Day of the Doctor that it's effectively the same device in a different case over and over again. So he has just been tinkering with this same thing forever. And I suspect the reason that it doesn't work on wood, and I hope it never does, because this will mess with my headcanon, is that is some sort of fundamental flaw with like the base code of this thing. So if he ever wanted to make it not work on wood, again, this is just my headcanon, I imagine he would have to start from scratch. He'd have to take the whole thing apart, basically undo everything he's done, and rebuild the thing from the ground up so it would also now work on wood. And he doesn't want to do that. You know, it's like, okay, I could sit down for the next who knows how many hours or days, disassemble this thing, and start completely over and try and build it back up to what it was. Or I can add 3 more useless functions and then go have a cup of tea with Leonardo da Vinci, you know? And I figure he's gonna do that. And in a way, that almost speaks to the Doctor's flaws, which I think also got de-emphasized for a little while, and I think came back a bit more in Capaldi's era. But, you know, in my head, the reason it still doesn't work on wood is because he doesn't want to put in the time to do that. There's more fun things for him to be doing than sitting down to fix this thing so it works on wood. So between all of these factors, between the fact that I do think it is an effective shortcut to cut through the technobabble solutions, because again, those are never going to go anywhere, not in this kind of sci-fi story, and the fact that I have my own particular headcanon for how I imagine the Doctor's development and relationship with the sonic screwdriver works, that I am perfectly okay with the thing. I don't ever want it to go away altogether. I don't get annoyed when it gets used in a way that I haven't seen it used before. Just don't start having it work on wood. Or if you do, don't do it casually. Like, oh yeah, no, I fixed that. No. If it ever starts working on wood, that's got to be a big deal. But I think, yeah, that's it. I like the sonic screwdriver. I've got a collection of them. There's a reason for that. So those are my thoughts on the sonic screwdriver. What are your feelings about that particular device? Whatever they are, drop something down in the comments. Let's talk about it. Don't forget to like, subscribe, check me out on Twitter at Council of Geeks. Give a listen to the Council of Geeks podcast, available on iTunes and Stitcher. I am also one half of the Punch Like a Girl podcast, now on the Fire and Water Network at fireandwaterpodcast.com. Until next time, this council is adjourned.